This recording is going to be all about how to add shade and shadow to a 3D object, a form. In this case, a sphere. Let's pretend that the light is coming from this direction. Then we know that this area is going to get the most light, whereas this area is going to be much darker. Now you would think that this area would be the darkest still, but in fact, because of this area around here reflecting light back upwards, we wind up with this being a tiny bit more toward the medium, whereas that is dark. This, of course, is light. This is called a core shadow. And I'm going to show you how this actually looks. Now I'm working on an iPad using the basics of adding shading, which is to say, shading should always follow the curve of the object to make it look more 3D. I'm going to do this using hatching and cross-hatching, but it's possible to do it with stippling. It's possible to do it if you're using a pencil just with shading. This is going to be rather crude, but it'll give you the idea. So I may go out of the lines. I may not get everything looking exactly right. You're just going to have to go with it because it would take me probably half hour to get this right, and you wouldn't want to sit there watching me do this. So we'll pretend that the light, once again, is coming from here, and I'm going to start adding shading following the curve of the object. Remember, if you don't do that, you'll wind up with something that doesn't look very 3D. All right, so you can see that I already have something that doesn't look particularly flat, even though, as I said, it's rather crude. Okay, so now I'm adding shading in the form of cross-hatching. All right, now you can see that it really is starting to look almost like a wire ball. Okay, so I am going to, oh, I didn't like that one at all. Let me undo that. All right. Let me try it this way. Ah, that's much better. See, what I did was I turned the entire iPad and I used the pivot point of the back of my wrist, which made it look significantly better. That's a little trick you can use. Okay, so now I'm going to go in here and I'm going to add a little bit of the shadow. So I'm going to do the shadow using hatching initially. Okay, now notice that the hatching that I'm putting in here quite dark underneath the sphere. But then as it comes out, I'm going to make these lines a little bit lighter so that it'll look as though the shadow is actually fading as we move out toward the edge. You can see that that looks a little bit lighter toward the outside here. Okay, so I'm going to grab, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, this is quite difficult not knowing where your eraser is, so you'll have to forgive me once again. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to complete this and I'm going to put in the core shadow. So now, in order to put in the core shadow, I'm going to start making this a little bit darker. And toward here we go a little bit later. Once again, I'm following the curve of the object. Doing a little bit more hatching than cross hatching for the core shadow. Those didn't follow the curve of the object really well, so I'm just going to take them out. I'm going to try and make this a little bit better. Okay. And now I'm going to go back. I'm going to add some cross hatching down here to make this significantly darker. Once again, I need to bring it out and have them go, these lines go a little lighter out there. And just go like that. All right, so if you take a look at what I have done, let me try just rounding this out a little bit. Okay, so now if you take a look, you'll see that I definitely have a little bit of reflected light on the underside here. It's a little bit darker in this area and definitely a little bit lighter here. Now, if you want to take it another step further, let me get rid of these arrows. If you want to take it another step further, we could actually start adding in some darkness, which would make the line on the outside of the ball go away. And you'll see that when you do this, it does make the ball look more 3D. And you can tell that white area is really popping out. And once again, you do need that contrast between light and dark in order to make it look real. And the reason why this looks so much better is because I've done away with the lines. Lines definitely make things look much less real. So if you're able to get rid of any lines, oops. was just a little glitch there. Sorry about that. So once again, I'm trying to make these lines go away, because if I make the lines go away, then it will look much more real. You can see that I'm getting rid of the lines. Now, you've noticed that I've left this tiny little white area there that goes up into the area of the background. That is to visually separate the ball from the background. And it's a little artist trick, leaving a tiny sliver of white over there, and I left a tiny sliver of white over here as well. Okay, so you can see that here we have something that is hatched and cross-hatched and actually winds up looking 3D. I hope that that helped to show you how to add shading to a form and have it actually look somewhat real. Go practice.